Hey everyone, I'm your astrologer Brittany of Ethereal Astrology, taking you to new heights with inspired perspectives that transcend the details. Today, you're watching your astrology horoscope for the full moon in Leo, which occurs on Thursday, January 25th, 2024 at 12:53 p.m. Eastern Time or 9:53 a.m. Pacific Time. Now, what I think is going on here at this full moon in Leo is that we are breaking free from some old habits and patterns where we've been too strict, too rigid, and too hard on ourselves, and are therefore feeling much happier, more present in our lives, and more aligned with ourselves and who we need to be. But even though we are feeling much better, we're still struggling to really act in this different space and in this different way. Here maybe are feeling a bit paralyzed or unsure of what to do next, which can be a bit frustrating. So that's what we're going to talk about here in this video. If you would like to hear more about that, please do stay tuned, because that's what we're going to talk about, and we're going to go ahead and get into it right now. In order to start, what I like to do first is, of course, place on the chart what it is that I'm referring to here so that you can see it and follow along with me. So let me do that now. This video is for the full moon in Leo on January 25th. Because of that, I have adjusted the chart accordingly for that full moon in Leo. I know that this chart is for the full moon in Leo because there's the moon here at 5 degrees Leo, making an exact opposition over here to the sun at 5 degrees Aquarius. And when the moon exactly opposes the sun here, that is what is considered a full moon. So that's what we're going to talk about, this full moon in Leo here. Now, what is this about? To get started, I like to say a few words about full moons here. Full moons are halfway throughout the lunar cycle here, and they do indicate culminations, completing things here, or stepping into things that we have been working towards for quite some time here. Not only are they about completing things or stepping into things we've been working towards for a while, but because that is when the moon is the brightest in the sky, it can also bring some sort of insight or illumination or revelation here about our experience that maybe we didn't see before. Other things too about full moons is that because they are the function of an opposition here, they also too can bring choices or decisions that might eventually need to be made, since it's hard to do two opposite things at once here. Now, what is it exactly that we are stepping into here? Getting illumination on, bringing to completion, or maybe even having to make some choice about here, Leo, because that's the sign here that the full moon is in. What is Leo about? Well, Leo is a fire sign ruled by the sun, has correlations to the 5th house since it is the 5th sign of the zodiac here. Leo is a very playful sign, bright, joyful, being correlated to the sun, about fun, happiness. So I think that's one of the things that we're trying to step into or bring completion or get illumination on it this full moon here, is how we can be happier and have more fun and be more joyful here in our lives as we move forward. Not only that, but I do a lot of times consider Leo to be about the present moment, living in the present, because when we're happier, we're more in the present and not thinking about the future and all of these other things here. So I think that's another thing we're trying to do, find our joy, happiness in life, but also to live more in the present or appreciate more of the present moment. Not only that, but Leo is a fire sign. To me, fire signs are more bold, more passionate, maybe even more of a risk taker here as well. So I think that there is also that going on, not only trying to be happier, more playful, have more fun, live in the present here, but to find more of our passion and zest for life, and to not be afraid to take risks here that it is that we need. Also too, with Leo being the sign of a lion, courage to take risks here. In addition to that, I think maybe one of the last things I'll note is that Leo to me is the sign of leadership. Sure, the cardinal signs can also have leadership abilities, but I think that Leo is, to me, what really stands out as leadership the most. And that's because, to me, what makes a leader is someone who's not afraid to do things differently here, even if other people don't always agree, even if it's not what always been done here. And I think Leo's the one that's not afraid to stand out and try different things here at times and be bold. So I think that's also it about this full moon in Leo. We're trying to step into more happiness, joy, pleasure, passion in life, living in the present, where we're not afraid to take risks and to be a leader in our lives, even if it's different from what we've done in the past or what everyone else is doing here at this time. Okay. So that's what I think is there. Now, before I move forward to give you more specific details about this full moon in Leo and those themes that I just described and how they're going to play out, you know me, for those of you who've been watching me for a while, I do like to go backwards in time for a bit here before I go forward. And I like to go backwards in time for a bit because I think that's super important and can change the interpretation a lot and add more detail and nuance to the interpretation that makes it more meaningful. So I'm going to do that here for those of you who are not interested in it, because I know it's kind of long. No big deal. You can go ahead and skip ahead in this video to where I talk about the present moment here in the current alignments using the timestamps that are down below in the description box. But I'm going to go ahead with this. I also want to note as well that I am going to abbreviate this backstory here for the time being because it is getting kind of long and hard for me to remember here, and because we're moving on now. So I'm going to go back in time just a little more briefly than I normally do. So I'm going to do that. And to start with the context, I'm going to go back to the alignment I usually like to go back to, which occurred between the very beginning of 2020. I think it was like January to March here of 2020. Here, and what happened around that time is we had Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn all come conjunct here towards the middle to end degrees of the sign of Capricorn here. Now, that was a very rare, unusual, and uncomfortable alignment. It was rare because Saturn and Pluto only come conjunct about every 35 years and not always with Jupiter there. Here, and it was unpleasant because Saturn and Pluto are involved, which do tend to be a little bit more challenging than the other planets, and Jupiter was in Capricorn, a sign it doesn't like to be in, which wasn't that helpful. It wasn't helping much. So this to me was a bit of a challenge. What was the difficulty? Well, I think it was us starting to realize around that time that the way we had been living our lives, potentially for as long as 35 years, here was no longer resonating with us anymore for what we wanted to create in our lives after this, and that we needed to make big Jupiter change Pluto and the structure of our lives, Saturn and Capricorn here, in order to end the things we didn't like that weren't working for us and get rid of it so that we could set ourselves up for a different experience of life. Okay, which again is hard to realize you don't like your life and you got to make a lot of hard changes in order to get out of it. Okay, so that was a bit difficult there. That happened. That then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, which occurred about 2 years after that, in April of 2022. Okay, and around April of 2022, we had a new moon solar eclipse here in the sign of Taurus. Okay. What is this about? Well, this to me was more helpful because I tend to like moon phases here, and it was on the north node, an eclipse on the north node, which to me is also more helpful here. So I thought that this was a good thing. What was a good thing? New moons are about new beginnings. Eclipses superpower that, and Taurus is a lot about fertility and abundance here, and new life to sustain that here and bring it forth. So I think in April of 2022, we felt as though we had ended enough stuff in the past 2 years that we didn't like, that weren't working for us, so that we could now feel like we were in a more fertile and abundant place to move forward in a different and better way that aligned more with us. Okay, that then leads me to the next alignment that I want to mention, which occurred just 2 weeks after that one, also in April of 2022. And at that time, we had a full moon lunar eclipse in the opposite sign here of Scorpio. Okay, now this was a little bit more of a challenging alignment here, and a little bit more of a challenging alignment here because it was on the south node, and the south node is particularly challenging here because it indicates habits and patterns that are very comfortable to us that we've been doing for a while, but that are no longer useful to us now that life has changed here, that we need to get rid of in order to move forward, right? And it's hard to get rid of things that you're used to doing. So this was a bit of a challenge here that was going on. What was it that what habits were we realizing at this lunar eclipse we needed to get rid of that were comfortable, that are no longer useful? Where those are going to be Scorpio habits, because that's the sign that the south node and the eclipse was in. And Scorpio, when unhelpful, which is what the south node indicates, can indicate here making too many changes here in your life. It can also indicate indulging too many negative emotions about yourself, about life, about what's happened to you in the past. Since it is a water sign, it can also indicate being too intertwined with other people, what they're doing, what they think of you, all of that. And it can also indicate losing money here or spending money here as well. So what I think happened now to bring that together is that in April of 2022, we realized, yeah, I made enough changes in my life to get to a better place out of this old stuff that's now more fertile and abundant. But even though I'm in a better place that's more fertile and abundant, I still have old habits and patterns that aren't conducive to this new space, which is a habit to still want to change even more, even though I've changed enough, and to spend too much money and indulge all the negativity from the past that's happened to me and become too intertwined with all these other people who may not be the best for me here as well. That's going on, that we then realized we needed to get rid of those habits and change. And I think another thought to change those habits to where we're more independent, more self-reliant, saving money, making money, more stable, more secure here with what we're doing. Okay. And I think that it took us, I need to note, quite some time, almost an entire year, in order for that to occur, for us to realize we had these habits and to kind of adjust our approach to life to be more stable, secure, self-reliant, etc. It really wasn't until the beginning of 2023, I will say, that we finally started to figure that out and get in a better way. But even though we once we figured that out at the beginning of 2023, we then had another issue occur when it comes to this new beginning and moving forward. And that to me is because of an alignment that occurred in May, around May of 2023. And around May of 2023, we had Venus go retrograde here in the sign of Leo here. And this was difficult because it's a planet going retrograde here, and especially a personal planet, which can be felt more personally than maybe some of the outer planets can be at times. So this to me was a bit of a challenge here, making us also feel stuck, like we're unable to move forward since the planet was moving backwards here. Into this better experience. Why were we stuck in May of 2023? Again, from moving forward into this better experience here? Well, I think what we were stuck was in some ways a Leo issue, but could also be considered a Cancer issue because Pluto was at the last degree of Capricorn at that time. And Leo is a lot about, again, happiness, fun, joy, pleasure, passion, emotion in a lot of ways. And I think we were feeling stuck here in May of 2023, because even though we had made enough changes to get our life in a better place and now have the right perspective, more independent, self-reliant, saving money, we were still ignoring our emotions and ignoring a playful side of life, or weren't letting ourselves play and have fun in life and enjoy it and feel our emotions and our feelings, because I think we were too stuck in the trauma with Pluto at the last degree of Capricorn of the past here, and too stuck in the hardship. And maybe even Capricorn being too rigid and strict and structured and all of that, that was a challenge here that we then needed to correct, right? To bring more play and emotion and heart into the situation. Hey, that then leads me now to the next alignment, really the last one I think I'm going to mention here for now, which just occurred 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago this month, January 2024, and that was the new moon that we had in Capricorn here. Of course, around the things that happened in 2024. And what I think happened at that new moon in Capricorn, I think it was meant to be a helpful thing. New moons are about new beginnings. Here is that we were trying to get a new approach to our life and our life direction, in which we were having fun and honoring our emotions here and what we were feeling, while at the same time still having Capricorn some boundaries and some structure in place. And we were trying to get the balance just right, not overly structured, not too much fun and too much emotion, but the balance between having structure and a routine and discipline in balance with our emotions here, so that we weren't falling back into some of these old habits and patterns and staying stuck anymore. And I think us doing that has now led to this full moon in Leo, which is what this video is for, helping us to feel a little bit happier now, a little better, like we can live more in the present here, and not only helping us to feel a little better, like we can live more in the present here, but also like now we can consider acting on this new experience of life again here, and taking the risk to do that in a way that's more exciting here for us. Okay, and I think that's it. I think that's all I'm going to say now about the context here. Maybe just to repeat that part one last time before I move on. I think the context of this full moon in Leo is that we've been trying to get to a new and better chapter in life for a while here, that we feel much better about, but it's been hard because we've had to get rid of a lot of stuff, a lot of perspectives, and we haven't been honoring our emotions here. And at this full moon in Leo, we're trying to bring all of that together, where we're in a new chapter of life. We've got the right mental perspective here, and we're honoring our emotions more so that we can move on structured, but also in a more balanced way with what we're feeling, and in a more healthy way to move onwards, okay, where we're enjoying life more. All right, and that's it, because that's all I'm going to say now about the context. I'm going to move forward in time, hey, to talk more about this full moon and what it means and how it's going to play out. Hey, and to talk more about this full moon, I just want to place it on the chart here one more time so that we can see what we're referring to. Here's the sun in Aquarius opposite the moon here in Leo. Okay, so this is the full moon here in Leo, which is about us trying to be happier, more joyful, more playful, and more bold in a different experience of life, where we've got a better balance between work and play and structure and emotion. Okay. That then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention about this full moon here. And this full moon here in Leo is making a square over to Jupiter in the sign of Taurus, which both the moon is squaring here, and of course the sun is squaring too, because the moon and the sun are opposing each other. So I want to talk about this first. I do tend to like this. I know that Jupiter is also squaring Pluto too, but I tend to like this here, and I tend to like it because it's Jupiter, and Jupiter I interpret positively most of the time. Now there are a few exceptions every once in a while, but most of the time I do like Jupiter. I interpret Jupiter positively because Jupiter is a planet of wisdom and optimism, and when you learn something and when you have a more optimistic approach, things just tend to work out more in your favor here than they would otherwise. So that's why I personally tend to like Jupiter. Wisdom, optimism, good luck. Hey, what is perhaps some of the good things happening, or that we're learning about or understanding or more optimistic about here at this time? Well, Jupiter's in Taurus. Taurus is a lot about some of those things we've been learning over the course of the past few years, being more stable, more secure, more self-reliant, independent, better with money, making money or saving money. Not only that, but Taurus is also a lot about our needs and values here, and understanding with the Jupiter there more of what those are, and aligning more with that here as well that's going on, and expanding those in more of a helpful way here at this time. And a square can indicate two things that are done together here. So what this means to me now, to bring that together with what I've already said, is that what's happening so far at this full moon in Leo, right, is that we're trying to feel we're feeling happier. Maybe I'll say we're feeling happier, better, more in the present. Hey, after adjusting some of our recent behaviors from the past, to be more in balance with our emotions, structure and emotions, to be more in balance. Okay, and not only are we feeling happier after recently adjusting our behaviors to be structured, but in balance with our emotions, we're also feeling more in alignment here with our needs and values here, and feeling more stable and more secure and more confident in ourselves and our individual abilities and in our money here. And we're understanding a lot more about what our needs and values are here that's going on, and are more open to new with the Jupiter, new ways of making money, new sense of self here, and doing things in a different and better way here after this point. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here, which is that this moon, full moon in Leo, is making an opposition over here to Pluto in the sign of Aquarius here while all of this is going on. Of course, the sun is conjuncted too. Now, this is a little bit of a challenging alignment here. It's a little bit of a challenging alignment because it is an opposition here, and oppositions do tend to be difficult here. And Pluto too can also be a little bit of a challenge here as well. Hey, and it can be a challenge because it's an outer planet, which is further from where we live here. What is a bit of the difficulty? Well, Pluto indicates where our strong desire here is for something, and drive in order to make happen, so to speak, which sometimes can be, many times is unconscious subconscious that we're not aware of. And in Aquarius, it indicates that our desire is to break free still, and break free, I think, from these old habits and patterns in which we've been too strict, too structured, too rigid in the past, which is what I've talked about a lot of my other horoscopes here. That's going on, and to set ourselves up for unique Aquarius and innovative approaches to our life in the future here that I think we're still trying to do, or maybe still feel challenged by, or still don't feel like has happened fully yet in the way that we might like. So now with that piece of the puzzle, to continue with the building blocks of the interpretation, to put everything together, synthesizing information, what I think is going on at this full moon in Leo, right, is that we're feeling a bit happier now that we have started to balance our behaviors, hard work and structure, with honoring our emotions, okay, and pleasure. We're feeling a bit better now that we've done that. Not only are we feeling a bit better now that we've done that, but we're also feeling more understanding of ourselves, our needs, our values, money, what's important to us here, and are more able to be that, to be in alignment with our needs and values, more stable, more secure, and all of that, which is positive, okay? But even though we're feeling happier now that we've got this balance better and more in alignment with our needs and values, stability, security, and more understanding of all of that, we still feel like there's something not right. We still feel like we still need to break free from more old habits of the past when we've been too strict, too structured, and like we haven't fully broken free from all of the unbalances of the past that it is that we have. And like we still have to make changes in order to overcome old habits before we can really be home free and move forward in the way that we might like, which is making us feel challenged and a little torn here. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, and maybe one of the last here, and that's going to be outside of the full moon here. It's going to be Mars and Mercury. Mars and Mercury are coming into a conjunction here in the sign of Capricorn at the time of this full moon. And not only that, but in the few days after the full moon, they're going to make a square to the nodal axis, which includes the south node here in Libra and the north node here in the sign of Aries. Right now, this alignment to me is also a challenge here as well. It's a little bit of a challenge because Mars is involved, even though Mars likes to be in Capricorn and is exalted there, because sometimes Mars can be a bit aggressive here. And it's also a challenge too, because this is squaring the nodal axis here, which is called a skip step in evolutionary astrology, which is what I do, which is also a bit difficult too. So two reasons at least why this is a bit of a challenge. What is the challenge here? Well, Mars is a planet of action. It's about doing things here. That's going on. And it's in the sign of Capricorn, which is about structure and discipline and boundaries, and is what we've been going overboard with, the past few years, that we've been trying to rebalance here recently here and bring together. And so Mars in the sign of Capricorn is going to push, Mars pushes our actions towards the imbalances that we might have had in the past, too rigid, too structured here. And it's connecting with Mercury. Mercury is also a lot about our mindset here and the way we think and communicate, which may also still be stuck in the past, especially with both of these things behind the sun here. Stuck in the past here. That's also hard, out of alignment here as well, which that can be difficult and make us frustrated and make us angry. Mars can skew anger and frustration, mad at ourselves and others, and make us feel off. Not only that, but both of these things are also squaring the nodal axis, and squares in the nodal axis or skip steps can make us either hesitate or in some ways feel confused and uncertain about what to do next, because it's halfway between the south node and the north node. So the planets that square it say, I don't know, do I do the south node? Do I do the north node? What do I do here in this situation that I think is also very, very difficult, making us feel, again, like we're still stuck in some old habits and patterns, too rigid, strict, structured, and don't know what to do to overcome these, and in a stalemate, stuck in a stalemate here, damned if we do, damned if we don't kind of thing here. That can be a bit of a challenge. Okay, so what that means to bring this together, I'm going to give you some advice after this. is that what's going on at this full moon in Leo is that we're feeling happier and better, that we're starting to balance our behaviors over the course of the past few months, so that we're working, being structured and getting it done, but also honoring our emotions at the same time and not neglecting those. We're feeling better that we're doing that and coming up with a better balance. Okay, but even not only are we feeling better that we're doing that, we're also feeling more stable, more secure, more confident in ourselves, more in tune with our needs and values, with more understanding of what that is. Okay, but even though we're happier about the fact that we've broken free from some of these old habits and have a better balance and are more in alignment, we still don't feel like we've broken free from these old habits and patterns enough, in which we've been working too hard, too stiff, and too structured here. And we still feel like there's more that needs to be broken free from here that we haven't fully gotten rid of and come to terms with. And because there's still more of these old habits and patterns that we haven't fully broken free from yet, or don't feel like we've broken free from yet, we're now feeling stuck and confused about what to do, because we don't want to do the old habits and patterns that we know are wrong here, but we're not ready yet to do the new habits and patterns that are more balanced either, here, making us feel very frustrated and angry here about our situation, regardless of how far that it is that we've come here. That is a bit hard. Okay, because that's what's going on. Now I'm going to give you some advice here, and the advice that I want to give you, I think is going to be multiple. I'm going to give you maybe two pieces of advice, but the first piece of advice I want to give you is because of the full moon and the square to the nodal axis from Mars and Mercury. Hey, both of these things are symbols of decisions. Okay, the full moon and conscious choice that you make consciously and don't wait to happen here. Hey, and a full moon is symbolized has to do with decisions, because it's an opposition and it's hard to do, again, two opposite things at once. You have to make a decision. And the square to the nodal axis is about decisions, because we tend to skip it if we don't really focus on it. So I think part of the advice that I want to give you here is that there needs to be some kind of conscious choice that's made, so that you don't feel stuck and frustrated, and so that you don't fall back into these old habits and patterns, which are us being too stiff, too structured, and too rigid, and ignoring our emotions. Hey, what choice needs to be made here? Well, I think the choice that needs to be made here pertains to a few things. For one, part of the choice that needs to be made has to do with the south node here in Libra, because when a planet squares the nodal axis, or in this case, two planets square the nodal axis, according to evolutionary astrology and as a skip step, the node that both of these planets last touched is the more helpful one, since that's the energy it's more recently infused with in order to get it unstuck. And in this case, both Mars and Mercury last touched the south node in Libra just a few months ago. So Libra is the more helpful node that we need to choose to do more of in order to get unstuck. Hey, what is Libra about? Libra is about balance. It's about balance. It's about harmony and having a more balanced approach to life here that's needed. Okay. And the balance that's needed, another choice with the full moon in Leo, is to allow more of our emotions, our passion, our happiness, our fun, our joy here in the present moment, what we enjoy in the present moment, to come out more. That's what's going to bring things into balance, because the past few years with Pluto and Capricorn, we've been too structured, right? Too rigid, so it's choosing to rebalance the overstructure and discipline by honoring more of our emotions here, and pleasure and following through with that, right? That's part of the equation, okay, that I think needs to be done. Not only is that part of the advice here, there's a need to choose to strike a balance between this overwork and structure by bringing in more of the emotions and play. But Leo, remember at the beginning we said, has to do with risk taking, has to do with leadership, and leadership means standing apart from the crowd, even if it doesn't feel comfortable here. So another part of the equation is not only we need to choose to rebalance our situation by acting in ways that sure get stuff done, but bring more of our passion and heart and joy into the equation. But we need to not be afraid to do it, even if it doesn't feel normal, even if it doesn't feel like we've been used to. We need to get the courage, Leo, lion, the courage here, in order to do things in a different way here, even if it doesn't feel natural to us or like what we've always done here at this time. Okay, so I think that that's what I'm gonna say here in terms of the aspects. because that's, I believe, all I'm going to say now in terms of the aspects here going on. I'm just going to repeat that one last time before I add a few other notes onto this video. Here, read your inside degrees and pull your tarot cards. So let me repeat one last time. What I think is going on here at this full moon in Leo is that we're starting to feel much happier and better after recently rebalancing some of our behaviors in life, so that we're still working hard and being disciplined, but honoring more of our emotions and our pleasure in the process. Right? Not only are we feeling happier after doing that, but we're also too feeling more understanding of ourselves and our needs and values as a result, and more in alignment with our needs and values, and more stable, secure, confident, self-reliant, and maybe even better with money too because of that, which is wonderful. Hey, but even though we're feeling happier, that we got a better balance in our lives, more in alignment with our needs and values, here, there's still a part of us deep down that still feels like we're still a little stuck in these old habits and in these old behaviors and in these unbalanced habits and behaviors that are too work-oriented, too structured and rigid, and like we're not fully home free yet, which is frustrating us, bugging us, making us a little anxious and a little nervous here about the situation. And not only frustrating us and bugging us here, but also too making it very difficult for us now to act and to decide what to do, because we're worried that if we act, we're going to either fall back into the old habits and patterns here that are too unbalanced, too structured, or mess things up here. That's making us frustrated, stuck, angry, not know what to do. That's hard here, bringing us a little bit of a stalemate at this time. And because that's what's going on, I'm going to give you some advice. And the advice here for this full moon in Leo is to make a conscious choice here, and to make a conscious choice to continue to strive for balance in your behaviors, so that you're balancing your work and your discipline with passion and with heart and with your emotion here at this time, and to get the courage to do so and to not be afraid to do so, even if it feels uncomfortable here or not what you've done in the past, because that's what's going to help you secure your way away from these old strict habits and patterns into a different and better experience, and help you to move forward here, okay, in a way you need. All right, and that's it. Okay, because that's all now I'm going to say in terms of the aspect. I think I might add a few more notes here at this point in the video of just thoughts. Okay, where do I want to start? Maybe I'll start by, saying some things again in a different way, because I don't know if that was the most clear here. I think the thought that comes to me about this full moon in Leo is that we're feeling like we're out of old habits and patterns. Well, hold on. Let me start here. What are the old habits and patterns that we're trying to break? Because I don't know if I explained it clearly in this video. I've explained it in other videos of mine that you've watched here. Our old habits and patterns that we're trying to break here are habits and patterns in which we've been too Capricorn, because Pluto has been in Capricorn for the past 15 years, roughly since 2008. And while I know it's now in Aquarius, it's not permanently in Aquarius. It is going to retrograde back into Capricorn for a good portion of this year before it comes into Aquarius. Okay, so we're not done with the Capricorn story. Okay, and when Pluto's in a sign, it takes that sign to an unhealthy extreme, which has been going on for the past 15 years and may still go on for some of this year. Okay, what is that unhealthy extreme? Well, when we're too Capricorn, Capricorn's work-oriented, it's disciplined, okay, it's structured. And when unhealthy extreme, it's too work-oriented, too strict, too structured, too rigid. No room for emotions, no room for play, no room for fun, no room for other meaningful things of life here that are going on. So that's the problem over the course of the past while, that now we're trying to break free from, is this habit in which we've been too structured, too rigid, too disciplined, and too overworked here. That's been going on. Why? And we're trying to break free from that, because being too rigid, too structured, and too overworked here has prevented us from being happy and doing other things in life that are truly meaningful for us. Okay. The next thing I want to note, the way to overcome an extreme being too extreme is to balance it out, right? You need to balance an extreme. And the way to balance an extreme is to bring more of its opposites into the equation here. And the opposite, of course, of Capricorn is Cancer, which is a lot about our emotion and nurturing ourselves here. But Leo is also on the opposite side of the zodiac here. The moon is not that far into Leo, which is also about happiness and passion. So the way to balance too much work, too much structure, which has been the problem for a while, here is to cultivate more of the opposite, more emotion, more happiness, more joy, and more play in order to bring these things together. Okay, so that's really what we've been trying to do, I think, especially since June or July of last year, in which we're still trying to get right now, is coming out of too much rigid structure here by balancing it better with play and heart and meaning and all of that. And I feel like what's happening at this full moon in Leo is that we're feeling like we're there. I'm doing it. We're doing that more than we've ever been able to do it in recent memory, especially in the past 15 years, is that we're balancing structure, rigidity, discipline, with a healthy amount of emotion and of play and of passion and of love and of heart. We are doing it. Something very significant happening there, which is making us feel happy and better and more secure and more in alignment with ourselves. But even though we're doing it more than we've ever done it in recent memory, we're still feeling like there's a tendency to be tempted back into the old unbalanced way of working too hard and of being too stiff. That is the problem here. Right? Do you see that's the problem here, making us not know what to do? I've reached a major moment. I'm balancing work with play, structure with heart and emotion. I'm doing it, but I'm worried I'm going to fall backwards because, I'm worried I'm going to fall backwards here and I just don't know and I feel hard, okay? That's what's going on here, okay? I hope that's been clear throughout this video. Not only do I want to say that that's what's going on here, but maybe I need to give a little more information about why. Why are we significantly in a better, more balanced space with our behaviors, but worried we're going to fall backwards into the old ones, the old unbalanced way of structure? Well, I think that part of the reasons why we're worried is because the old unbalanced way of doing things is comfortable and familiar. Okay, and it's comfortable and familiar because that's the way we've been doing things for the past 15 years. And it's just more comfortable to do things you're comfortable with, that you're familiar with. So I think that's part of the reason why we're like, I'm worried I'm going to fall backwards because that's what I've been doing. It's what I've been doing for so long that feels more natural to me. Hey, not only are we worried we're going to fall backwards and having difficulty now acting because of that, but it's also too because these new behaviors that are more balanced, where we're more in alignment with our emotions and passion and play, they feel foreign, right? We haven't done them before. They feel foreign. They feel unusual to us and not what we're used to doing here as well. That puts us in a weird in-between space. Okay, you see, and it's harder to do something that you don't know how to do, or you haven't done a lot, or that's unfamiliar to you. So that's where we are now. Significant moment, balancing work, structure, discipline with happiness, fun, joy, heart, emotion. Here I'm doing it, but I'm worried I'm going to fall backwards because the old is just comfortable to me. The structure, the unbalance, what I've been doing, and this new, more balanced way is uncomfortable. I haven't been doing it. It's foreign. It feels unfamiliar to me. Do you see? And making us feel in a weird in-between space. What do I do? Do I do what's comfortable to me, or do I, because that feels more natural, or do I do what's not comfortable to me, which I know is the right thing to do, but doesn't feel right? And nothing feels right. You know, it's like there's nothing feels right here. That's very hard. And you got to make a conscious choice here in order to overcome it, right? So, sometimes you have to do the things that don't feel natural to you, because sometimes the natural things are traps to keep you stuck, and you have to do something else that you haven't done before. And that's what we have to do. We have to choose to do the thing that we're not used to doing, which is to honor more of our emotions. So I just wanted to say that to add more of the context here between what we're trying to break free from, what the old habits are, and why this is such a struggle here that's going on. Okay. What else? Sorry, is there another thought I want to add? Yes. Over the course of the next few weeks, and maybe even months till May, are we going to reach a point where we're going to choose to do things differently, that are more balanced, balancing heart and play and fun with work, that's going to be healthier for us. Okay, yes, I think we're going to beat this, if you will. I think we're going to, maybe not beat, maybe beat isn't the right way to put it, but I think we are going to not fall backwards into these old habits and patterns, in particular, over the course of the next few months from now about until May. Why? Well, we're now during Aquarius season, right? The sun just recently entered Aquarius. Aquarius doesn't do this falling backward stuff, okay? Aquarius is about innovation, the future, forward thinking, wants to move forward. Not only that, but Pluto is also now in Aquarius as well, future thinking. And Pluto has a lot to do with our desire here. Not only that, but there's going to be a very rare and significant alignment coming up. I believe it's in May, and which is going to be Jupiter conjunct Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And that to me is the most significant alignment of this year, not Pluto in Aquarius, because Pluto's not fully in Aquarius yet. It's going to retrograde back out. Jupiter conjunct Uranus to me is going to be the most significant alignment of this year in May, going to bring big changes for the better in a lot of people's lives here. And guess what's also involved in that alignment? Uranus, which correlates to Aquarius, about moving forward into the future. So the next thought that I want to add is, are we going to be able to make this choice to say, I'm not going to fall backwards into unbalanced behaviors, too strict, too structured, too rigid here, and I'm going to try something different that's better for me? Are we going to do it in between now and May? The Jupiter Uranus, yes, yes. We are going to keep moving in a different direction, okay? But even though we're going to keep moving in a different direction from now until May, with a better balance between work and play and structure and emotion, I personally believe we're going to lose that. We're going to lose that sometime after May, around June, July, August, September, and maybe October. We're going to lose this forward momentum, and we're going to fall back into some of these patterns that I've been talking about that are unbalanced, too strict, too rigid, etc. Hey, why do I think we're going to fall back into those patterns? Well, for one, Pluto's going to retrograde back into Capricorn some point during this year, which is prime for us falling back into these old habits and patterns, right? Backwards. Retrograding and a Capricorn. Not only that, but Jupiter's going to enter Gemini around that time as well, a sign it does not like to be in. Jupiter's about wisdom and understanding. And when Jupiter's in Gemini, there's something we're not wise about, something we're not wise about, something we're not understanding fully, and that we're getting confused about with all the facts, all the information. You know, we had a lot of information. We don't know how to put it together here as well. You know, so I think for the next few months, we're going to try new behaviors, right? And we're going to get to significant place come May. But I think after May, we're going to lose this forward approach here to better balance between work and play and structure and emotion here. And we're going to fall back into, for a time, back into these old habits of too structured and too rigid. And I think we're going to fall back into them because we're not going to be aware. We're going to think we beat it, right? We're going to think we've beat it once Jupiter enters Gemini, and we're not going to be watching our P's and Q's, and we're not going to be aware, and these subconscious habits and patterns are going to come back again here, that we're then going to have to come to terms with one more time, probably around August, September, October, more the end of the year now, November, December, okay, before we more fully conquer them this time the following year, 2025, when Pluto officially leaves Capricorn, okay, forever in our lifetimes, and will be more in Aquarius. So that's the next thought there. And that's, to be honest, my opinions about this year. I want to do a yearly horoscope, but I've been trying to rebrand for forever, and I've been trying to wait for some of that stuff to be done, but that's my opinions. Trying to wait for the rebrand to do the yearly horoscope, but that's my opinion on this year. We're going to now, to recap, get a different approach here to our lives between now and May. That's healthier, a better balance between work and play and structure and emotion, which is going to be lovely and wonderful and bring good things in our lives. But after that point, around June, July, August-ish, September, we're going to forget about this different approach to life, because we're not going to be as aware of what's going on, and we're going to think we've conquered it, and we're going to fall back into the unbalanced, too rigid, too structured, which is going to cause issues, okay, that we're then going to have to correct again in August, October, November, December, January, until we get to this time next year, 2025, when we're finally going to have conquered these things, okay? Do you see here? Now, that doesn't mean that these next few months till May aren't important. okay, of us trying to, because maybe some of you are like, well, what's the point? What's the point of trying new behaviors that we're not going to fully, conquer them until next year? Okay. Well, the point is about learning. Okay. That's what the point is about. It's about learning. Here, a lot of times learning requires multiple tries or repetition here in order to learn, here in order to bring things together. And so us trying now to behave in a different way, even if we forget or fall backwards, now is going to help us, because it's going to pave the way next year for us to bring a lot of lessons together here and to have a more complete understanding of what needs to be done. So don't let that discourage you to be like, oh, what's the point of trying something new if I'm not going to ever figure it out till next year? It's like, well, this is going to make it easier for you to fix next year and to bring together with more awareness of what needs to happen, which is important, because if we didn't have this moment in the next few months, here where we behaved in this different way, then next year we may not even know what we're doing. Then next year it'll be that much harder to correct our behaviors because we didn't get any understanding or pave the way for that's coming on. So you note, not only that, but something very good, unexpectedly good in so many people's lives is going to happen when Jupiter conjuncts Uranus here in May of this year. So not only do we want to do these new behaviors, even if we don't stick with them, so that we can learn and understand what's going on and more fully bring it together next year and pave the way much easier, but because these new behaviors now are going to bring something good up in our lives, very big, in a very good way here, even if we still have some more learning to do after this point in order to bring this stuff together. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say there. Okay. Sorry about all the repetition. That's my thing. I feel like it was maybe a little worse this time. But I feel like there's just a lot going on here. So I think that's also part of it. That feels kind of complex with the astrology. But anyways, now I'm going to shift to your inside degrees. Okay, this full moon is at 5-degree Leo. I have the inside degrees up for the degrees around the full moon. These degrees were not written by me. They were written by someone else named Elias Lonsdale, who channeled the meanings of the degrees from these from spirit. But I just really like his work because I think that it's interesting and relevant and helpful. Okay. I believe that all the degrees before, of, and after can be relevant here. So I put them up on the screen. Feel free to pause the video and read whatever ones you would like. However, I just want to focus on 5 degrees Leo for this video because I feel like that one is the most relevant. So that's what I'm going to look at here. Let's read it. It says, when different sides of the soul have developed to drastically different points, you become a strange mix, a hybrid brew. Okay, let's stop there. What are these different sides of the soul that have developed to drastically different points, in my opinion? Okay, the Capricorn side, strict, structured, rigid. Okay, and the Cancer Leo side, emotion, passion, heart, joy, happiness. Okay, that's what I'm feeling. Okay, there's a part of us structured, strict, rigid, disciplined. Okay, that's really been working on that. And then there's another part of us that's trying to be emotional, happy, joyful, passionate, to follow that. Okay, not only is this first sentence saying that to me, but it's also saying that these two have developed to different points. Okay, which means one has developed more than the other. Okay, which one do I think has developed more than the other? Strict, rigid, disciplined. That one has developed more than the other, and the passion and the emotion has not been developed to the same extent that the other one has, making us a strange hybrid brew. Okay, let's read on. It says, simultaneously ancient with wisdom and vibrant with youth at best, or perhaps at once aging rapidly and still uninformed. Okay, maybe that sentence is referring to the different sides, right? Capricorn is known for being an older sign, age, maybe you could put some wisdom with it here. And Leo is known for being a youthful sign, having to do with kids, right? So there's this part of us, part of our soul feels very old, especially because the Capricorn, the older side, Saturn ruled, has been more extremely focused on, as to where the youthful side has been neglected or isn't developed enough to the extent that it needs. Okay, so I'm getting that. Okay, we're feeling older, not as youthful. Here, that is going on, or like we're aging, but still youthful, don't know what we're doing, uninformed. You know, I think there's that dichotomy that it's trying to speak to. Let's read on. It says, those facets that are older and wiser have developed a greater mode of perception over long cycles of time. Those facets that remain young and uninformed have not kept up with the greater awareness in the personal expression and embodiment. Therefore, your knowingness is advanced, yet your performance is a novice. Okay. So that's another thought here too, is not only that we have the two sides of ourself now, the structured side that's been cultivated to more of an extreme, that's older, and the younger, more playful, passionate side that hasn't been cultivated enough, making us a strange mix of age, okay, and playfulness, or of feeling older but still uninformed, of youth here and things like that here, but that's making us act weird, right? Knowingness is advanced, yet performance is novice, right? And Mars is the one making the square to the nodes here that's making us act weird, okay? Making us act weird, you see, because we're out of balance. One knows more than the other, and there's this, you know, making us act weird or not act in a healthy way. It says the hardest part is to accept and embrace yourself as you are, and to forgive and transmute what sometimes seems like a lack of courage and individual strength under fire. Okay. The only way this combination can become integrated is if the advanced witness acknowledges the unconditional value and intentions of the fledgling personal one, who will flourish and start to catch up if loved and fostered. Your own inner self is the central benefactor, the one who can say yes and bring life forth abundantly. So what this part is saying to me here is that the way to fix this, where we've got one part of ourselves older, overdeveloped, strict, structured, rigid, and the youthful, playful side not developed here, is, well, for one it did, well, maybe I'll get to that in a minute, is here to, for the older one that's more developed, to see the value in the youthful one that's got the more playful, more emotional, more sentimental part, for the older one to see the value in this other part of ourselves here, and to bring more of that together, right? To honor more of that and transmute anything that is not in alignment with that in the way that it needs. Okay. Not only does it say that to me, that the way, right, to fix this is for the older, strict, rigid, to acknowledge, hey, maybe emotion and play is important, okay, and to make space for that to occur. But another thing that this is saying is conscious choice. Do you see it? Your own inner self is a central benefactor, the one who can say yes. It doesn't say someone else is the benefactor. It doesn't say let it happen to you on your own, on its own, out of nowhere. It says you are the central benefactor. So this also says, not only is the advice of the structured, rigid one, older one, needs to realize play and emotion is important, but that you, being the central one, need to make a choice in order to allow this to happen, you know, and to bring the two together. Okay, which I think isn't too different from what I've already said in this interpretation. But there's another thing that also comes out to me too. There is something here about unconditional love that I think is also needed, to be kind to yourself as this happens, that I didn't say, but that this degree says, and that is a part of Leo. You know, Leo is about love emanating, you know, from the heart. And so I think that's also maybe an important part that I didn't say, is to love yourself throughout the process here as well, because beating yourself up about it doesn't help. Here, and isn't going to help in this situation. And I think that's all I'm going to say there. Because of that, I'm now going to pull your card. So let me get that. Okay, your card for this time is the Tower. The Tower upright. I was feeling the Devil, but then we got the Tower here, which I feel weirdly are like kind of related cards to me, but we got that one, and then at the bottom of the deck we got the Lovers, both major arcana kind of day, kind of full moon. We got the Lovers here reversed. Okay, what does this stand out to me? Maybe I'll start here. The Lovers to me is actually a card of choice, not so much a card of love relationships here. I see the Lovers more as a card of choice here, and you did get it reversed, and reversed can indicate to me, right, either not making choices or not making choices in alignment with what really needs to be happening here at this time. This also too can indicate some sort of personal conflict here that may be happening as well, that you may need to fix internally of what side do I go with. And I think the Tower, I have to catch the doorbell, so I got to end this soon, but the Tower is saying you got to try to do something very differently than what you've done before, because your natural choices and tendencies might not be the right ones. You have to choose to try a different tendency, very different than before, even if it's scary or feels like everything's falling apart around you. So that's what I'm going to say. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great full moon, and I'll talk to you on the next video.